국민 여러분, 죄송합니다.
Despite the undeserved amount of attention I received, I have deeply disappointed the public. I regret and apologize for failing to be more strict to people around me. Because I haven't been thorough enough, I've let down the young generation and caused them pain, all the while advocating for reform and progress. Separately from legal controversies, I'm sorry to the students and the public.
국민들에게 죄송합니다.
Well, you don't have to be an expert in the Korean language to understand that word for apology at the end. That was the voice of Cho Guk, the embattled Justice Minister nominee, held an unprecedented press conference at the National Assembly as he sought on Monday to clarify the corruption scandal involving his family. While the main opposition Liberty Korea Party held a counter briefing, President Moon Jae-in on Tuesday asked the National Assembly to send a confirmation hearing report on Cho, moving a step closer to appointing him as Justice Minister. Now, was Cho's 11-hour press conference a turning point, enough to explain mounting allegations without an official confirmation hearing? Well, we've actually got a couple of students here in the studio who took part in the candlelight rallies demanding the truth about the allegations, urging Cho to actually step away from his nomination. Let's find out why. Let's welcome, first of all, Song Joo-hyun from Korea University's Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Good morning.
Good morning.
And also Lee Gun-hui from Seoul National University's Department of Architecture and Architectural Engineering. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, I'd just like to start by asking both of you, and maybe just Song Joo-hyun, you first, what your thoughts were about this press conference. So many hours.
There were a lot of aspects that were unacceptable. When trying to clarify the allegations surrounding his family members, Joe said that there were no illegalities. However, during Monday's press conference, he said that the issues regarding his family may seem weird now, but back when they happened years ago, they weren't considered weird. So Joe, who's already at the center of controversy, is contradicting his own words and fighting against his own remarks made only about 10 days ago.
Lee Gun-hui, are you also unconvinced by the press conference?
네, 저도 주연님하고 비슷한 생각인데.
I agree with Ju-yeon. The press conference was insufficient to replace parliamentary hearing. In my view, the press conference wasn't clear at all since the public had no means to cross-check his claims, especially while Cho Guk had written on his social network that he would provide a clear explanation on every allegation that he's facing. All he said about his daughter's scholarship and her being listed as the lead author of a medical research paper were either he had not known or he didn't have much knowledge on those issues back then.
방향으로 답변을 일괄했다는 점에서는 상당히 명쾌하지 않은 기자회견이었다고 생각합니다.
So, again, it doesn't seem like either of you have been convinced by what some saw as the sincerity of Cho Guk in stepping forward and addressing the public in the absence of a confirmation hearing. Let's hear a little bit more of what he had to say. A rather controversial remark concerning dirt spoon youth, as some observers felt it was distasteful for him to even mention that term.
My daughter received scholarship at the time, and she was able to enter university through a global admission program, as she's good at English, because she lived abroad for a long time when I was studying overseas. I apologize to all Dirt Spoon students who didn't even have a chance at the global admissions program, as well as those who weren't given the opportunity to study abroad.
Song Joo-hyun, your thoughts first of all. Did you find it insulting to hear him say dirt spoon youth?
일단 이 문제는 흙수저고 금수저고 해서 어떤 기회를 가지고
I don't think these issues are related to one being a dirt spoon or gold spoon, but I would like to make it clear that corruption is what started this controversy in the first place. Joe has stated that there was nothing unlawful about the allegations, nor were they corruption cases. However, the first author of a medical research paper is responsible for planning all experiments and giving orders to other research fellows. And even if Joe's daughter did make the corresponding contributions, it will be in violation of the medical law, as it means that she would have used samples that only people working in the healthcare industry have access to. And if Joe's daughter didn't make such contributions, it could fall under obstruction of business for the admissions office of Korea University, similar to the case of 정유라, 최순실's daughter.
정유라 사태 때와 마찬가지로 고려대학교 입학처를 상대로 한 업무 방해에 해당할 수가 있다라는 어떤 의견이 있습니다.
Yeah, certainly seems like there is a similarity with the Cheongyura case. But if I come back to you, Lee Gun-hui, he had been viewed, Cho-guk, as being very much a hopeful progressive, someone who would challenge the educational environment, for example, someone who would certainly challenge the playing field in a whole range of fields. What's your thought on what he had to say about Dirt Spoon Youth?
사실 뭐 흑수저 발언에 대해서는 저도 뭐 주연 학생하고
Concerning Joe's comment on Dirt Spoon Youth, I agree with what Juyeon said to a certain degree. However, it feels like Joe would not have used that term if he had truly felt sorry for the privilege and opportunities he enjoyed through his social status. With that very remark, he was separating the privileged class to which he belongs and the rest. I think the remark wasn't very considerate.
사용된 발언이라고 저는 그렇게 느꼈습니다.
Right. So there's been a series of protests, including, if I can come back to you, Song Joo-hyun, at Korea University, where you are. Students held 2 candlelight protests in August demanding clarification by the university regarding allegation about how Cho's daughter was admitted there. So Joo-hyun, we've heard you were on the scene already. What was your motivation for participating?
두 가지 정도가 있었습니다. 우선 첫 번째로 대학원 진학을 준비하고 있는 이제 20대
First of all, as a student majoring in science and engineering and someone preparing to apply to graduate school, it was hard for me to understand how standard research ethics and process were violated, as well as how the efforts of graduate school students and researchers were used for individuals' personal interest. Secondly, as reflected in Korea University's motto, liberty, justice, and truth, it is the academic tradition of my university to seek a just and fair society, along with the pursuit for liberty and truth. But I was enraged by the fact that irregularities had occurred at Korea University's admissions office, which should also be following these values.
저는 이제 매우 분노를 느끼게 되었습니다.
Can I also just clarify why the Student Council limited participants to current students and alumni by checking ID cards and graduation certificates?
확실히 하기 위해서입니다. 저희가 집회를 준비할 당시에 이미
It was to clarify, when we were preparing for the candlelight vigil, many media outlets and some other groups had been very critical towards us based on unverified reasons, saying that we were organizing the rally due to political instigation and that we were into some kind of ideology. I wasn't part of putting the vigil together, but I understand that the organizers wanted to be free from such controversy and to make it clear that the students weren't participating for political reasons, but the goal was to denounce the school's corrupt admissions process.
자행된 그 배경을 규탄하기 위해 모인 것이다라는 점을 확실히 하기 위해서 그와 같은 졸업생이나 재학생 제한을 둔 것으로 알고 있습니다.
Right. Of course, it wasn't just Korea University that's been involved. Also, Seoul National University, where a separate student protest was held on both the 23rd and 28th of August, demanding that Cho leave the university and abandon his bid to become Justice Minister, which would effectively leave him with very little. So, Lee Gun-hui, we've heard that you were one of the members of the Student Council, attended both the rallies. Could you tell us more about what drove you to take part and what your biggest disappointment was with Cho?
In response to various allegations surrounding Joe, we thought he had to communicate with the public about a relative deprivation and a sense of betrayal that we felt, as well as our anger towards a public figure's moral hazard. We thought it was necessary to channel those thoughts and feelings in a more official manner. That's why the SNU Student Council has organized candlelight vigils to demand Joguk's resignation. You know all these, namely college entrance, research paper, and scholarship, are extremely sensitive issues in our society. As co-members of Seoul National University, the students are all the more disappointed at Professor Jo because he was the one who always stressed social justice and fearlessly criticized corruption at the higher level during his lectures. We learned his deeds do not match his words.
Let's give Cho himself the chance to kind of respond with what he had to say directly to students at Seoul National University.
I am open to having an opportunity to hear the criticism of students from Seoul National University that are demanding me to step down, or students of any university for that matter. I'll give my response to their criticism and resolve any misunderstandings there may be, try to deliver my true intentions, and apologize for any of my wrongdoings.
Did you appreciate at all what he had to say there?
후보자의 의지가 있다고 하면은 서울대학교 총학생회는 기자회견이나
If Professor Jo really has the will, of course, SNU Student Council will cooperate to organize a meeting where he could speak with students. However, if there is such an event, he should provide more candid and clear answers than what he said during his press conference.
답변보다는 보다 진솔하고 명확한 답변이 있어야 한다고 그렇게 생각합니다.
We've been reflecting for days now how Jo-guk himself has been trying to clear this up. I know that both of you were suggesting he didn't sufficiently do so, even after so many hours of addressing the public this past Monday. Others have defended him, suggesting that this is inappropriate for family allegations to be involved in the question, the political question at this point, of whether he should be Justice Minister. And it looks like President Moon may just go ahead and appoint him with or without a confirmation hearing. What do you feel should be the next step? This is to both of you, but let's start with you, Song Joo-hyun.
저는 우선 대통령이 어떤 임명권을 철회한다거나 이럴 것이라고 기대하지 않고 사실 좀
I don't expect President Moon to withdraw Jo's nomination, and honestly, I'm very skeptical. President Moon has been emphasizing the need for reform, and he's already nominated numerous figures that he considered were necessary for his reform drive, regardless of public opinion or the confirmation hearing process. So I don't think there could be any kind of follow-up measures. As a candidate, Moon had said that when he becomes president, there will be equal opportunities, fair processes, and just results, and vowed to create a nation that the people have never seen before. I think he's kept his words to some extent. The university students think that what we're seeing these days is something that we've never seen in the past. More than half of the public is finding the current situation odd and expressing anger. And in the status quo, it's unclear to me how the president and Jo will be able to carry their judiciary reform and whether they'll get much public support.
조 후보자가 의지를 가지고 어떤 사법 개혁이나 이런 걸 단행할 수 있을지, 단행한다 하더라도 과연 국민들의 지지를 받을 수 있을지는 저는 미지수라고 생각합니다.
It's fascinating to me how some of these progressive goals are colliding with student interests, because sometimes in history we've seen them on the same page. I'd like you also to comment, Lee Gun-hui.
저도 주연님하고 동일하게 사실 장관 임명에 대해서는 지금의 시국으로 봤을 때는 강행될 거라고 예상은 하고는 있고 그렇지만 우선 즉각적인 조치로는 지금 가해지고 있는 검찰 수사가 보다 가속화되어서
I also think the presidential office will go ahead with appointing Jo-guk as Justice Minister. Regardless of his appointment, though, I believe prosecutors should speed up their investigations to check all the controversy surrounding him. Jo said if he is appointed to become Justice Minister, he would not be reported on any of the investigations associated with him. I don't think that can be considered as a solution. What would be more appropriate is that if any wrongdoing is proven through investigation, he must resign from his ministerial position. In the long run, however, I do think we need to address the structural problems that give widespread privileges to children of the ruling class.
이런 사회 지도층 자녀의 여러 특혜 사실에 대해서 물론 구조적인 개선 또한 따라와야 한다고 생각합니다.
Thank you both of you. 감사합니다 for coming here in the studio and explaining where you as students stand on an issue that has been swirling in the media for a long time now and threatens to continue to swirl. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's continue now with a further guest, another student who's actually asked to remain anonymous. This is a student from Korea University. Thank you very much also for taking the time on the line today.
Good morning, Alex.
So, among the recent suspicions surrounding Justice Minister nominee Cho Guk, there have been these candlelight vigils that we've been hearing about. How have you personally been following the recent developments?
Well, yes, I'm very aware of what's going on with the allegations involving Cho's daughter. So many of my friends have been involved in the protests at school, and I know that this can be quite concerning for most of our university students on multiple levels. But to be honest, it's not the suspicion behind how Cho's daughter, so how she was listed as a primary author of a pathology paper published in a renowned medical journal when she was still a high school student, that provokes the most of the students. What I think is that the leading, the powerful, the wealthy figures of our society may not follow the fairest procedures, especially when it comes to university admission processes. Although I have no background in pathology or the medical field, so it is quite hard to guess, but I assume she could be academically capable even in her high school age to write such a paper. Hence, it is not her academic ability of her teens that is to be questioned or debated. Only if we can confirm that her contribution to that particular journal is greater than that of the secondary and the third author, then this is by far no issue. But if we find that her contribution is more than what she originally put in, if her academic input as a primary author is flawed, if her name being published on that paper was only made possible through her father, then that violates the research ethics and is definitely a problem that needs to be thoroughly examined.
We should remind ourselves and our listeners that Cho Guk has denied the allegation that he had anything to do with his daughter's name appearing on that paper. But President Moon has still commented that beyond this controversy, it's needed to re-examine the college entrance system here. So he admitted there's a problem there. Can you share your thoughts on what he had to say?
Well, regarding how he talked about something beyond this controversy, how he said that it's required to re-examine the college entrance system. And what I think about that is that these are just two completely different and fundamentally independent things that we have here. So, first of all, Cho's daughter has experienced the university admission procedures in the year 2010, and right now is 2019. So all of the concerning processes behind her suspicious entry to the university happened 10 years ago. The time dimensions are different, the situation is different, the system is different, and the world is different. So this means comparing the university entrance systems between now and of 10 years ago is illogical and simply doesn't make sense. These just do not go hand in hand, and I'm rather slightly shocked at how President Moon had found that it's possible to simply align 2010 with 2019 while he isn't really even the Minister of Education. So to me, it seems like he's comparing apples and oranges. It's not the university entrance examination procedures of the general college admission system that is the core of our problem. It is the application documents that the daughter of the Justice Minister candidate had considered 10 years ago in order to increase her chances and her possibility in getting accepted to the school. So I'll say don't blame the system itself. It is the components which corrupt the system that we need to tackle.
One more question. Sorry, I'll start again. One more question I wanted to ask you, because there have been several negative media reports concerning college student protests. It's really dragged this all into a political dimension. The suggestion, for example, that some of the students were motivated by the Liberty Korea Party, the main opposition conservative camp. which otherwise has not really been associated with students particularly. Is there anything that you'd like to refute there?
Yes. First of all, before I say anything, as an individual, I truly respect each and everyone's political ideals and perspectives. I believe that we all share our political boundaries. Sometimes these may or may not overlap with each other. I feel that there is no need to demarcate this border. I mean, why would you necessarily? So, in saying this, amongst the university students, some may be for, some may be against, and some may be neutral on this protest. And the idea is that our protest and our university embrace this. I would like to emphasize and stress on the point that the protest held at KU was held without any signs of implicit or explicit force. And at least for the first protest, the executives had divided the students and the locals. And everything that happened on that night was carefully planned, carefully examined through a series of discussions, both on and offline. The event was recorded and broadcasted, but still, it was subject to viral public attention and intense media scrutiny. I discovered that from this event, no matter what actions or ideas we try to put forward in the most cautious manner, the media will always try to reshape and mold these efforts to fit their needs. And yeah, we were kind of subject to open criticism from the media about wearing masks and everything that you just said. And yes, we wore masks, but still, all of this was done to raise our voice, exercise our rights, redress injustice, and bring back our pride as university students of one of the most elite schools in this country. I also think that criticizing the students because we don't belong to a particular political party or because we don't speak in favor of a specific political camp, that is nothing but oppressing and neglecting the students' rights to raise our voice and to stand up for justice and fairness. So treating this controversial issue with the most definite black and white logic, implying the behavior, you are wrong because you are not one of us and you don't think like us, is not the most ideal way forward in the colorful world we live in today. The candlelights were held in the hopes to recover the true justice and the most legitimate democracy and to make the world a better place to live than yesterday.
And every time I hear that word justice, I'm reminded that we are talking about the Justice Minister here. Thank you so much. I can't say your name. We respect your request for anonymity, but Korea University student, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.